Hi everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. And as the weather is changing and we are on set to the summers, here's a quick question for all of you. How did you experience and felt about the change, and when did you started feeling like you're an actual adult?
I have to go first because I have the silliest and the funniest realization. I think it was my first day in my own house. I had been away from home for I think like 15-20 days, and I had just mopped my floors. I was bawling my eyes out. I had called my mom. I was crying, and then I was cooking, and that's when I first realized, okay, now I'm an adult and I have to cook, I have to clean, I have to look out for myself, I have to do everything by myself. And that is when I realized, okay, this is adulthood, I guess.
As for me, I felt like an actual adult when I was filing for government IDs. I had to get these government IDs for my first internship, and in the Philippines, in my country, I look younger for my age. So when I was filing out for my government IDs, I kept having this funny looks from people, and one employee even said to me, life must have been hard for you, huh? Because they thought I was like having a difficult time with my life and I had to get a job early. But yeah, that's when I first felt like an actual adult.
And for all of you listening to our podcast today, I want to let you know that this was Jasmita and Courtney for us. And I thought it was always about being a child when you think about crying. But for Jasmita, somehow it was crying that made her feel like an actual adult. Victoria, share with us how was your experience, and when did you feel like an actual adult?
Well, I think the first time I felt the consequences of being an adult is when my flatmates and me, we got the electricity power cut off because we hadn't paid our bills for like 2 or 3 months. So after a couple of warnings, the company finally decided to cut off the lights. And in that moment, of course, we ran and paid the bills, but still it took them like a few days to restore the power. So we had to hang out around a candle and feel miserable with her. So we learned a lesson that paying bills is important.
Point to note for everyone that when your parents tell you at home they are going to cut off your TV connection, they are going to not take you to your favorite restaurant, but they still end up doing. That is not how life will work. If you do not take it seriously, you will be there without the power when you fail to pay the bills. We have next with us Trisha.
I think mine was like 4 years back when I first moved out from my house for my college. And I was always that grown up teenager who preferred to sleep with her parents. So, so I was sleeping in my hostel room where I was alone, and I suddenly had a nightmare. And the first instinct is to like just get up and go to your parents because they will make you feel better that it was not real and everything is fine. So I got up in the middle of the night, and I was at the door of my hostel room, and I realized that there's a fridge in front of me and nothing else. And that's when I was like, oh, my parents are not here. I cannot go. And then I just went back to sleep with tears in my eyes that I can't even call them at night. So that was the time I realized that till then, parents protect you, but after then, you have to take care of yourself.
The good part was that Trisha did not go into one of her other roommates' room and started hugging them, thinking that was her mother. So I think that was a relief for everybody. I wanted to introduce myself to everyone listening to today's podcast. This is Rachita Sharma. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Girl Power Talk. We have come up with this an interesting and a passion-filled series where we are going to talk about real subjects, real topics, and bring our stories to you. And of course, look forward to hearing from your stories as well. We today on this panel have our team members, our young leaders from all across the globe. And I'll pass it back to them to introduce themselves and tell us today that what part of the world they are speaking from. I am Rachita, like I said, and I am today hosting from India.
I am Jasmita, 19, and I moved out of my house for Girl Power Talk, and I am speaking from Chandigarh as well, Chandigarh, India.
Hi, I'm Courtney, 21. I'm from the Philippines, and no, I haven't moved out of my parents' house yet, but I am adulting still. That's the main goal here. We're adulting here.
Hi everyone, I'm Victoria and I am 30 years old and I'm a content writer at Girl Power Talk and I'm speaking to you from Spain.
Hi everyone, I am Trisha and I'm 21 years old. And as mentioned, I moved out when I was 17. And since then, I think I've been adulting and trying to be a better adult with each passing year. And I'm speaking to all of you from Chandigarh.
Thank you, wonderful people here, sharing your experiences, and of course, an interesting subject of moving out. And I think that's like walking on the road and suddenly somebody hits you. That's how adulting is when you move out of your house, because no matter how independent and self-sufficient and capable you think you are growing up as an adult, but suddenly you move out and you realize that small things that you never noticed are suddenly now missing in your life. I moved out when I was 17 and it was for college, and I realized that there is nobody in the middle of the night when I say I'm hungry to put something together for me, or when I feel a little overwhelmed, had a tough day and I'm crying my eyes out. There is nobody to notice those red eyes, and shit, it's adulting. We have to figure ourselves and everything that is going on in our life by our own. And the worst part is sometimes we struggle to build new relationships and not have enough people who care about it. Caring that something comes very easy to us when we are at home. And to this, I move back to Jasmita, and I'll ask her that how has been it for you moving out of your parents' house and settling in somewhere else?
Again, as I said, I never went to university. I never went to college. I took a gap year after my 12th, and during that gap year, I got the opportunity to work with Girl Power Talk full time, and that's when I moved out. So I moved out right like 2 days after I turned 19. So I was practically still 18, and it's been right because I've heard and I've been told that when you go to university, when you go to college, you have your parents sending you money, and it's still you're going to, it's sort of very close to going to classes and going to school. I didn't do any of that. I was just out there in the corporate world, working, doing my finances, cooking my own meals. So yeah, it's been weird, and it's been, I think, good. God has been kind. Let's just say that.
Yeah, the feeling of being the boss babe, I would guess. uh Asking, and moving forward to Kurti about it, how has it been, the whole experience of adulting for you? Did you feel you were prepared or ready to experience it?
I mentioned earlier that I haven't moved out of my parents' house yet, but I did move out of my hometown, so I guess you can also count that. I was 17, and did it align with my expectations, or how did it turn out for me? I guess it all boils down to the people I surround with. Before, people is just easy to surround yourself with. It came easy when you were in high school or even when you were in primary school. High school is just basically a big playground and you get to meet people all the time. But in movies, when they depict adulting, they sometimes frame it in a way that they frame it as liberating and being with people all the time. But they're movies for a reason, and they romanticize that aspect so much. But while that's also partially true, you'll find yourself in certain moments where you long for people from your hometown. You long for people who were there for you before you turned 18. And yeah, I just didn't expect how many people you would lose along the way and gain as well. You would have never imagined how many people you would lose that you thought there would be there for the rest of your life. Yeah, so far it has been a great learning experience for me. I haven't moved out yet, so yeah, that's one of my main goals right now.
The point to go into our journal that Kurti keeps reminding all of us about, that she hasn't moved out. So people, she wants your help. She's all ready and all set to move out. We gotta find her a way. I really liked and enjoyed when you said, the movies, the way they depict that adulthood is so liberating. And I would say sometimes our siblings or adults we know in our life, they try to portray a life that we find very fascinating. But oh my god, tell me it's liberating and you can build as many relationships you want, but how do you do it? It was so simple. As an 8-year-old, you would walk up to somebody and say, wow, you have a same water bottle like mine, can we be friends? And then we grow up and we're in the same class and we just can't walk up to somebody and say, be my friend, even when we desperately need one. So I think that was very well put together, Kurt. Trisha, you tell us that how was your expectation versus the reality that you were living of adulting. How was that similar? How was that different? Did you feel you were prepared for it?
I don't think that I was prepared for it because I was brought up in a very protective environment, and then one fine day my dad just left me at the doorstep of a hostel and was like, oh, you fend for yourself. Right. So when it came to finances also, I just knew how to spend. I never knew how to save or create a budget. So that's when I realized, oh my god, that's how a yogurt costs. And I remember that first 3 months I stopped buying yogurts, thinking that, oh, I would rather compensate it for my traveling than have a yogurt. So, but slowly and steadily it did, and once I got comfortable with it, it exactly, touch wood, it exactly matched my expectation of what it shows in the Bollywood movies, how college life is. That was my college life. So I was really happy that I chose the right place, the right people to live that. But unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. So it got shortened due to the pandemic. But yeah, it definitely fit my expectations and I was not at all disappointed by it.
Interesting. Victoria, what about you? How did you feel that adulting aligned with your expectations?
It didn't align that much. Actually, I used to have very concrete expectations about future or about what I wanted to do. So then reality was all different. But it has been a nice journey so far. I moved out when I was 18. I went to college as well. And at that time, I was very nearby my family, so I got to see them almost every week. But then over time, I moved farther away, and now I only have the opportunity to be with my family once a year. So I think sometimes that is another part of adulting, to be away and to miss your family and your loved ones, but also to find other ways to provide and to receive support.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a relationship where you want to run as far as from them once you start adulting, because you want to be independent and you want to take your decisions, and once you are as far from them as possible, then you miss the times and you want to be closer and you want to relive those moments, even if that's for a shorter span. We moved out for college, or Courtney has a special story where she moved the city. I can just imagine how it is to build up 17 years of your life at one place, and now time to pack and move and build new relationships. Coming back to Jasmita moved for work, took a gap year. Like you said, she was only 2 days into turning 19, so we can consider she was 18 when she moved. So how was it for you? I think your last years of your teenagers went into the pandemic, and then you moved out into this world. How was your experience of adulting different or aligned with what you thought it would look like?
When you say expectations, right? I think all of us have a very set points of expectations. When you're a kid, you're like, oh, you know what, when I grow up, I'll have the freedom to eat McDonald's every single day and buy that dress no matter what others say, and just decide and choose for myself. And I think that's something that I wanted. That was my expectation, that when I grow up, I am the boss, I am the decision maker. And then I did grow up and I came here, and I realized that, oh, you don't want to have McDonald's every single day. That's not good for your body, first of all, and second of all, you also can't afford it, and third of all, you sometimes just want a good hot meal in front of you, just not having to prepare it, not having to order it, just somebody's made it for you and has served it in front of you. And that dress that you thought you would want to buy as a child, and if I grow up I can just buy it, you have to pay for it. And so you have to make money, save money, budget, like the whole financing factor comes in. So it was just very funny that I think I came a full circle. Growing up I wanted to be an adult, like I wanted to be an adult, and then I did grow up, I was an adult, and then I said, oh, you know what, I just want to go back home. I want my mom to cook for me, and I want my mom to buy me things. I don't want to do the finances. So I think that's how my experience has been so far. Like I've come a full circle with my expectations and with the reality.
I mean, that is the truth. That is, like you said, it must have been truth for all of us at some point of our life. We all our life thought things we wanted that we really didn't want. But so is life. We live and we learn, and like we talked about parents, that until and unless we don't experience how it is to do without them, we really don't get to know how our life would be. But good for you that you are learning all those things so early on in your life, and when you move to a college, move to a university, you'll be well prepared for that. And I would also say that it's great that you're learning all these things while you're 19, because I have known and I've talked to people who are 23, 24, done with their studies, maybe grew up in the same city where they went to college as well, and now they've started earning and moved out, but by the second weekend they run out of money, and the next 2 weeks they don't know how to survive. And the phrase that goes, living paycheck to paycheck, and they don't know how to save anything or buy anything for that. They don't have to pay an interest or just to be able to survive those last 2 weeks of a month. And it will take them some time that to understand and to keep up with the societal expectations at the same time. So kudos to you. Our next question in the queue would be, what was something you did not prioritize much as a child that you do value as an adult now? Courtney.
Mine is networking. As I mentioned earlier, friends and all those people around you, they come easy when you are younger, but once you immerse yourself in a totally new environment, at least from my experience in college, it's an entirely new place for me, because I did move out of my hometown and moved to the city, and there are a lot of new people around me, and I never realized how difficult it could be befriending new people. It feels like starting from scratch, because now you're associating yourself with people of varying backgrounds. It's not just friends, you also get to find yourself a mentor, quality people at all times. Like, you never realized how difficult that is when you grow up and you associate yourself with new people. So yeah, definitely networking.
Thank you for sharing that, Courtney. Victoria, what would that be for you?
Well, what I didn't prioritize as much as a child, but I realized it's very important. It was like a basic day-to-day task, like survival skills. So as laundry and cleaning and cooking and going to groceries. These things, I never paid too much attention to it, but they take a lot of time. And then you also need to do a full-time job or studies. And then you want to have social relationships as well. You want to cultivate your own hobbies. So you really need to organize your time and to learn how to plan your day, your week, your month. So it takes time also to learn to do that.
I mean, that's right, hitting on the nail. I would say growing up in a country where house help, and I would say additional help that you look forward to having with terms of cleaning, cooking, laundry, it is more easily available than in other countries. But as a feminist, or as somebody who believe in equal rights, equal treatment, growing up every time in a South Asian household, when parents would tell their daughters that you need to learn cooking, the underlying comment would always be, of course, because so you can be a better wife to somebody someday, and you go to a house where you can cook for them. It took so long for me to realize that cooking is not a woman's skill. Cooking is not a men's skill. It is a surviving skill. You need food. You need to know how to make it. You don't have to make it every day, but you need to know, because this is something that goes into your body. And to that, I would also add, as a child, we don't really prioritize what goes into our body. And I think anything and everything we put, our body has a beautiful way of fighting with it and just working it out. But as you grow, you start feeling old. When I say you start feeling old, I mean at 25 you start feeling like 50. You have these backaches and you are not able to digest food, and you're like, what is wrong with my body? I need to check that list, that I'm not just with the ordering food every day from McDonald's. But it's beautiful, and thank you for sharing that, Victoria. I'll go back to Jasmita for the answer, that what was that she did not value much or prioritize as a child, but now do.
I first have to say that I am trying to not order McDonald's every day. Okay, I'm trying to save my intestine and I'm trying to save my systems. But I think something that I didn't prioritize was that you have to have a filter. When you're a child, when you're younger, you say whatever comes to your mind. You have absolutely no filter. You are a free-spirited person. You just say whatever comes to your mind. And when I grew up, I realized that, it's not that easy. You can't just say what you think is right or what you think is wrong. Life used to be black and white for me growing up. This is right, this is wrong, this is okay, this is not okay. And when I grew up, I realized that life is what happens in the middle between that, gray space. And so I realized that, now I have to have a filter. I have to think before I talk. I have to realize that there is no perfect right or wrong. There's something in the middle, and that's where we are surviving. So I started prioritizing, and I'm still working on it, and that is something called diplomacy. You have to be a diplomat in order to get the right and the wrong correct. Like just the right percentage of diplomacy helps you get along. That's something I didn't prioritize, but I must start now.
It's also funny, I think, that how as kids, and when we're growing up, everybody tells us that be honest, speak the truth, speak the truth, speak the truth. But when we start speaking the truth, it's offensive suddenly. It's a so confusing world. Like, what do you want us to do? And especially as women, like, you want us to speak the truth, you don't want us to speak. We are bad if we gossip. We are bad if we, call you out in front of you. So please help us. My next question would be that, is there anything you wish you would have done differently if you could go back in time? Trisha.
I think as a kid, I was very focused on only two things. One was academics, and if I did well in academics, then as a reward, I would get clothes. So that was the only thing that was in my life, okay, study and buy good clothes. So I think one thing that I would really do differently would be that I would focus on holistic development. I would really focus on taking risks and not always be safe. I remember in my first year of college, I used to be so scared that from my hostel room, I used to go to my college and then I used to come back. Whereas all my peers were going here and there, were going for trips. But I was so scared to take that risk that, oh no, it might distract me from my studies. I might not get a 4 GPA. And that was that was a huge deal for me to be the topper of the class. So I think if I go back, I would say that, okay, in that first year, I could have had so many memories just the one line of CV that I got. So I would definitely be more adventurous, not be so frightened by what could happen, and focus on holistic development and not just one aspect of it, because like I said, your grades take only one line of your CV and the rest of it is your personality.
For our audience, I want them to know that you are seeing a renewed version of Trisha. She has taken 2 trips in past 30 days. So the holistic development that she talked about, that she wanted to change, she has successfully changed it. So it's so if you need any transformation tips, how to be that gutsy, confident, adult when you were not that as a child, you know who to contact. Her details will be uploaded to our website for any direct questions. Jasmita, what about you? Let's not be diplomat though.
No, yeah, that's that. I'm still learning that. I'm not sure I am diplomatic yet. But yeah, I think we were talking about girls wanting to defy the gender roles, right? Girls wanting to not follow what they were asked to do because why are you only asking me? Luckily, in my house, I was never told to be a certain way. But in the school, you were told, right? You were told to sit properly, to have a skirt that is the right length. So I was just always rebelling. I remember as a teenager, I was rebelling, and I feel like I was a rebel without a cause. I thought I was being feminist and I was, creating a wave of change, but I wasn't. I was just rebelling because I thought that's how I can show them that I have a voice. I remember saying some pretty sexist things when I myself called, I myself identified as a feminist, like, I have more male friends because they are less drama. Girls are so dramatic. Well, I was the drama. I am the drama. So it was just very funny that while growing up, I thought, like, during those teenage years, I thought maybe due to the teachers or the social media that I was finally on, that I thought I had to compete with girls. I had to pull someone down in order to take their space. And if I could do something differently, it would be to understand that there is space for more. I think we need more women in leadership roles, more women everywhere. It's just we need women supporting women and not pulling each other's legs down and not rebel against sexist norms in a way that it's pulling other women down in the same way that it pulled you down. I think if I could do something differently, I would be a rebel, but with a cause. I would be supportive to my sisterhood. That's something I would do differently.
Thank you, Jasmita. If only, every time I would have had a McDonald's burger for somebody said such a beep and I was a part of that conversation and I just nodded, I would have had my own restaurant chain right now. But and it's okay for us to be in conversations where women were called out names, where even if it was, women gossip, women are jealous, women have certain personality traits, or be it they are drama or they have unrealistic expectations. It's so hard to understand, or perhaps whenever they do not agree with something, they must be during that time of the month. And it is so fed into us, I would say, into our mentality, into how our mind operates, that as women, you're out there to compete with other women. That you have to look better than them, you have to sound better than them, so that you get picked up by men before. So all young girls out there who are listening to this podcast today, this is your chance and this is your time to make more girlfriends, find more women, read about more women who you look up to. You can learn from their life, find more women mentors consciously, because we look up to so many men. And I can, of course, like right now even say I meet so many young girls and they are inspired by Elon Musk and Steve Jobs. Then why not? Of course, they are the great men doing some really powerful things and done some powerful things in their life. But apparently we know maybe 5 women of influence, or the stories that we have read, or the products that they have invented, we are well read on their stories. And why so it's our responsibility to consciously find and build more women friendships and look out to support more women. And that is, I think, what Girl Power Talk stands for. We are here to hear your stories, provide you with mentorship, guidance, suggestions that you're looking for, and want to let you know that this is your safe space, this is your community. For us, any and every opportunity to be able to support a young individual, and especially a young woman, is something we take a lot of pride in and is an honor for us. So make sure that you are in touch with us, be it via Instagram. Our handle is @girlpowertalk, or you can visit our website girlpowertalk.com to ask any questions you have. And not taking further time, moving on to the next question. We just heard about some comments that were frustrating, that were limiting, about adulting or what we thought it was and how it happened. So what were the negative things that came along with adulting for you? Trisha, do you want to go with this one?
I think the negative things that came along were a lot of self-doubt, and because when you feel like your peer is doing much better than what you're doing professionally, that has happened with me so many times. That when I was in college, somebody in second year or first year only got an amazing internship where I was just applying and getting rejected. So those are the times where you draw certain kind of comparison between you and your friend, and I think that point you need to understand that, are you going to compare and cry about it, or are you going to go to them and learn what you don't have and they have? That is a decision that you have to take at that point of time, that do I learn from this or do I cry about this? So these kinds of situations are always going to come because someone out there is always better than you at something else. We have to learn from someone who is better than us, and especially even when you're working, be open to learning rather than comparing yourself. Like Jasmita said, don't think of other girls as your competition, but as a support, because compared to men, I have noticed that women are always more than ready to help you out and be better. So self-doubt is something definitely that comes up as and when you grow up, because you meet so many people who are doing such different things.
Thank you, Trisha. And I think that is so meaningful, especially in today's day and age. Insecurity comes so easily to us, but we have to remember, we have to know that we are our biggest competition. At the end of the life, we all will be at a different place where we started from, and we will be there by ourselves. All the people we meet in our life will not be there. There will be a handful, a few of them. So while you have them around, learn from them and make it a good experience. What about you, Courtney? What do you think that are the negative feelings that come along, and how have you been able to deal with them?
It's not a feeling per se, but not setting boundaries and making myself too available for help for people, because while kindness is such a good thing, people exploit that all the time. So I had numerous people from before adulting, from when I was in high school, and even today, asking me to do their homeworks, because back then I used to do acts of service and I used to be so kind. I mean, I still am. I'm still kind, but I made myself too available for people, and they tend to use that. I mean, we're all adulting here, we're all fishes out of water, and you can't be, always there for people, because you also need to be there for yourself. You're also discovering parts of yourself. So yeah, along came with that is not setting boundaries.
Thank you, Courtney. I mean, for all all our listeners today, please take a note that empathy can be also toxic. There has to be boundaries that need to be set, because when you're in a position on giving too much, even if it's emotionally, it may come back and harm you. And especially for young adults who are still processing the wide variety of emotions and life challenges that they have to go through, suddenly they get hit by the challenges that other people are facing as well. So always make sure to, before you vent it out to somebody and you unload your problems and your issues, make sure to check in with your friend, check in with your acquaintance, check in with that connection, that if they are doing okay, or if they are in a position to hear all your unloading. And maybe this is not one of the days where they are ready to take it. So make sure that when you are trying to find help for your mental health, you also take care of somebody who's always there to hear you. Jasmita, what about you?
I think for me, the biggest challenge that I face every once in a while is that feeling of abandonment. Because of course, when you are adulting, all your friends are adulting as well, and all my friends went to colleges, moved cities, and moved states, and some moved continents for the college, and I was still there. I was still back home, and I was still figuring things out. So I always kept getting these waves of abandonment. I was like, oh my god, perhaps I'm all alone and there's nobody who gets me, everybody's moved on. And I still get that now that I'm away from home. I feel like I'm distant from my own parents sometimes, and it is very scary being by yourself and being your own person. But I think that's something we need to learn, because you have to learn to enjoy your company. You have to learn to be there for yourself. So I think that's something I would want everybody, be it girls, boys, everybody adulting, to realize that nobody's abandoning you. Everybody's just growing up, and everybody's just moving on in life. And if you call your friends, they will be there for you always. But that's the thing, why do you always have to call someone to be there for you? You need to learn to be there for yourself. That is something I hold very, very close to my heart. Every time I feel upset, I hold myself like, okay, you're going to be okay. And that's just how I deal with every emotion. Like what Trisha mentioned, feeling insecure, be it professionally, be it personally, be it about how I look or anything. Every time I feel insecure or I feel worried, I tell myself to feel all the feelings. If you're upset, sit down, cry. If you're angry, have a breakdown. Like, just feel all your feelings. Once you're done feeling, once you're done screaming, crying, whatever, you'll feel better, and then you'll be able to make a plan of action to deal with your problem. So that's a little tip from a 19-year-old to other kids adulting right now, that feel all your feelings, never ignore them.
Thank you, Jasmita. So cry it out, yell it out, write it out, whatever works for you. Do it. Don't hesitate. And just talking about insecurity, I too can't let this topic go off without talking about social media. I think a huge part of our insecurity, our challenges, is social media. Everybody seems to have a perfect life. And that's not true. If you'll go to our Instagram, you'll see Jasmita having a pretty awesome day every single day, but that's not humanly possible for any one of us to feel fun, to feel crazy, to feel productive every single day for the rest of our life. And also enjoying your own journey and your own company, because you are the only person who will be your own friend for the most of your life. You're going to spend most time with your own self. So it's better to start understanding and accepting the silence and enjoying the solitude, even if that's not for everyone. Sometimes we are put into a situation where we have to live by ourselves. In past 2 years, there has not been a bigger or greater example than past 2 years, where we were all put into a box to live and figure out to social distance. And that's a sign that we need to understand and be more aware, be more self-aware. Moving on to the happy things, Victoria, tell us about the moments that you loved about being an adult.
Actually, I love the freedom to make my own decisions, and I have seek validation a lot. But right now, I love the power of being able to make my own decisions by myself. And I also leave the possibility, which I understand is not for everyone, but I still love the possibility of living alone and having my own space and getting to decide when and if I want to share it with someone else. A particular thing that I also love is traveling by myself, being able to organize by my own the whole trip and to discover the world. Traveling in company is great, but traveling alone is also amazing, and it gives you a lot of time to experience things in a really unique and individual way. So I recommend it to everyone, just to have at least one trip, even if it's nearby, but just to yourself and to enjoy yourself.
Everyone, please take this tip very seriously. I'm a big cheerleader for traveling alone, traveling by yourself, traveling in the company, any possible way. I've always said there are two ways to learn: you read and you travel. And they're both very different. You can, if you even do just one of them, I think it would be, I personally believe it would be limited in certain way. But travel, it's beautiful, it's enriching, it's learning. Also, you get to know about your own self, like Victoria beautifully mentioned. And the best part for me about adulting is somehow traveling too, because come on, I don't need somebody's signature to book a hotel room, to book a place, can do my flights, don't need a guardian's approval. And now I'm an adult on paper, even if my parents treat me like one or not, that's a different conversation for a different theme. But on paper, since I'm an adult, I have the freedom to make certain choices. Trisha, what are the happy moments about you, for you, when you became an adult, or what's the part that you loved most about it?
I think after college, when I started earning and I didn't have to ask my parents for money to go for a trip or to buy something, or I was not answerable that, oh, how much was the bill for this month's electricity? Did you use the AC too much? When I was not answerable for those things, that was my happy moment, that my finances are my finances. I do not have to share it with my parents or with my siblings. I get to choose where I spend. And at the end of the day, it is me who has to save, invest, and spend, and there's nobody else's opinion that would matter. So that was the most, that was the happiest moment for me as part of adulthood. That throughout the life, I've seen that. I think we all have seen that women are not financially independent. I'm not saying that's the only way of empowerment. There are a lot of women who are financially empowered, but not really. So, but it's one of the ways that you empower yourself. And when you have control of your finances, it's very easy for you to quit from a situation also which you don't like. So yeah, it was very empowering.
We understand, Trisha, you love AC and you love money. We got your point straight. We all love money, I think. We also are told, and that could be also societal, but we are told to not talk about money enough, to not bring it up in conversations. It's a show off, it's a greed. But no, money is an essential. If you need to learn how to cook, you need to earn money to survive. And I hope for coming generations, next generations, do more easier talks around money and not take it as one of the taboo subjects, because money right there fits in between the group of topics that we are not supposed to talk about, and just keep it with us. Doesn't mean, of course, you walk up to anyone and ask what your salary is, but at the same time, to be able to talk about finances, how do you manage it, or where do you invest, or how can I learn from how you manage your money, and just the conversation around it. I know that Trisha also mentioned that it was really different for you when your father just dropped you at the hostel room, and now it's for you to figure out. What do you think your parents could have done better to train you, or in general, the parents all across the world can do better to prepare their kids for the real world, and what advice would you give in general?
I think like you said that my father just left me there and left. But in hindsight, I would say that's the best thing that he did to me, to fend for myself. And to all the parents, I would say, especially in India, we are very protective of our kids. Like even after we turn 18, we ask our kids to choose a college which is near home, thinking that, oh my God, how will you manage? You won't be able to cook. You don't do anything here. How will you do it there? So we really protect and undermine the potential of our own kids. So I would say that have confidence in your children and let them figure it out. They're not going to die. They'll be just fine at the end of it. So that would be my suggestion to the parents, that don't be so insecure and don't undermine the potential of your own children. If you could do it, then I think your kids can do it as well.
And I think, Trisha, I would also jump on the boat and say experience is perhaps a better teacher than most teachers we had in our life. Sorry to all my teachers who will be listening to this, but experience is one of the best teachers you can get. You'll fall, you'll learn how to get up. Nobody teaches you, that if you keep crying, after a moment you have to stop crying because you're not getting what you're crying for. So I mean, come on. So you'll figure a way out around life, and if the problems are persistent and they are more than that you can handle, you seek help, you seek support. But you have to also seek help, right? This is also something I think in a lot of households, parents don't tell their kids how to seek help. Trisha said that they undermine the potential of their kids so much that in the race of proving their own selves to the parents, kids hesitate asking help. That my parents will think I failed them, or they would say, oh, we told you so, right, that this won't work. We have to make our kids feel better about their decisions and show some faith, show some trust. Even if we think as parents that they may fail, don't tell them, don't make them feel that way, keep it to yourself. Because just imagine how you would feel if your kids turn up someday and say, oh, you are going to fail as a parent, you can't be a good parent. How would you feel about that? So let's not doubt their potential. What would you say, Jasmita, about what parents can do better in general?
I think agreeing with whatever you and Trisha said, that yeah, they need to just let us be, and we learn. Experience teaches, time teaches. But something I think my parents could have taught me was, my mom has always been a very self-sufficient woman, and so she would always want me and my sister to be like that as well. That, oh, learn to do this, learn to do that, because when you grow up, you'll need these skills. So I think both my parents had raised me and taught me to be self-sufficient, in the sense that I could cook, I could clean, I could do my finances, I could do everything, I could manage. But so I had intelligence in the sense, I was smart, I was street smart, but I was not emotionally intelligent. I feel they did not prepare me emotionally for all the hard nights that I'll have, all the anxious mornings, and the feelings of abandonment, or the feelings of feeling lost, uncertainty. Because again, of course, that's not something that can be taught to I don't know, I just feel that our parents could growing up just tell us that life is difficult, the world is a cruel place, and you have to be your own person. They keep sheltering you, and they keep being there for you. You cry one night, like Trisha said, that if she had a nightmare, no matter how old she was, she could get up in the middle of the night and go to her parents' room. So could I. But yeah, they should have taught us that no, deal with your trauma, deal with your emotions by yourself. That's something I think our parents should do. Give us emotional intelligence, like with empathy. Teach us to be selfish sometimes, teach us to be because it is a dog eat dog world, and we have to learn to survive. So I think our parents, instead of just survival skills, they need to teach us how to be emotionally strong and sufficient.
I think our parents are also hesitant of being vulnerable, and I'm sure that's not true for every family, but also a lot of parents are not okay with being vulnerable to their kids, what they have been through or how they were kicked down in their life. Perhaps sharing more of those experiences can help their kids look at a life from a different perspective. What would that be for you, Victoria? What would you tell parents to do differently?
Well, I agree with all of you a lot. Another thing that I sometimes see in parents is that instead of focusing on understanding and learning who their children are, they just try to make them who they want them to be, And I understand it comes also from protection and from the feeling you get when you see a creature who is so similar to you. But still, you need to understand that it's a unique person, and it's or her own person. And I think as a parent, the most important thing to give a child is support and love, like unconditional love. Is that what you will always need from your parents? no money, no criticizing or even advice. What you will always need is unconditional love.
Yeah, that's so on the point, Victoria. And I would just say that when you talk about parents and their love, they do offer us a lot of support. And sometimes our parents want us to be supportive of people who are not good for us. So especially when you are moving out, your parents need to tell you that don't take crap from anyone. We are told to shut down and be quiet and stay away from trouble so much that we are often, expected to just listen to anything offensive, anything toxic that comes our way and not react to it. But at the end of the day, that builds up, that harms our mental health. And especially it starts from within the family, when you have that toxic relative who comments on your weight, who comments on your skin, who comments on, always have a joke about you, and your parents don't defend you, or your parents don't cut off, communication with that person, but instead tell the kid to also laugh on such jokes. Just know that you're also preparing them to being bullied outside when they move out. That okay, it's okay for people to say mean things to you, it's okay for people to bully you. It starts right within the house. The boundary that Courtney talked about, how to draw that, it's so important when you move out, to know that where and how to draw that boundary. And maybe our parents can teach us a little better about that. Our last question for today, and we know it has been fun and it has been long, and I don't know where the time went, because it was so fun, revisiting the moments of adulting and moving outside. How was it first getting flashbacks of mopping the road and mopping the room, not the road apparently, and crying about it. But what would be your number one advice for teenagers who will be moving out or adulting soon?
I would start by saying that there could be no perfect journey here. There's no picture perfect process of adulting. We're all bound to have mascaras running down our faces, crying at 3 a.m., and worried that tomorrow you'd eat ramen again for dinner. No, there's no perfect journey here. I think we put an emphasis on the idea of adulting is such a liberating experience. It's beautiful. You get to go out, party, and meet lots of people. But yeah, adulting is, for all of us, I think it's uncharted territory. But the beautiful thing is you're not just familiarizing yourself with new environment and surrounding yourself with new people, but you also get to experience and discover new passion and discoveries about yourself mostly. Like I myself, before, I never would have thought that I'd enjoy juggling my college and internship. Like I never would have thought that that would be possible even in a global pandemic. Whereas before, I have this passion for going out to the movies almost every week with my friends, and I never realized how much of a money draining activity that was. So yeah, there's no perfect journey here. Allow yourself to live and learn.
Thank you for sharing that, Courtney. Trisha, what would you advise?
I think we play it very safe and don't take advantage of our age. What's the most that you can lose is a year, and in long term, that 1 year wouldn't even matter. When you're in your late 30s, in your 20s. So we such safe choices, being scared of everybody's judgment of what they would think of us, that we don't prioritize our experiences, our changes in any way. And even I am guilty of that, and I am sure a lot of us here are guilty of it. So it's that take advantage of your age. If nothing else, you got nothing to lose.
Thank you, Trisha. Thank you, Courtney, for sharing that. And I would just add what Courtney said, that it is not perfect journey. You have to make mistakes. You have to make bad choices to be able to learn from them. There is no 5-year plan. When we turn 18, our life is pretty set. We turn 23, we'll be having a job by that time, or a post-graduation degree, and I'll be living with 2 really cool roommates, and I'll be a very nice person. My parents will be so proud of me. I'll have best friends who I'll take yearly trips to Goa. That's a popular Indian destination. And then you're 23 and you've never mean to go still, but it is also not really, doesn't really work a 5-year plan, because like Courtney shared, you'd not be the same person in those 5 years. The things you wanted then will not be the things you want then. Some of them you may have not achieved, some of them you don't want anymore, and materialistically you can have everything that you wanted by a certain age or in certain number of years, but emotionally you don't feel there, because how we feel mentally, how we feel physically, so much change over the period of even 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, that it completely, changes our plans. So it is, I would say, change is inevitable. Go with the flow, learn from your experiences. Do not limit yourself. Don't think that this is something you wanted, or you wanted to be an engineer when you were 14 and now you have an engineering degree and you're 20 and now you have to do it because you've given 6 years to it. Look at the bigger picture. You have 40 years of at least working or your career left in front of you. Why would you give more weightage or more importance to those 6 years that, although they may be not utilized well, if I change my career option or if I change what I want to do with my life? Think of the journey long term, what will make you happy, and you look back that you did take those risks and you lived the life that you wanted and nobody else. And I'm sure that you all must be having some really interesting stories of your adulting. And for bearing with us so long and listening to our stories, I want to tell you that we also do look forward to hearing your stories. The most interesting stories that will be sent our way will receive some exciting gifts and surprises from Girl Power Talk. So you can visit our website. The 3 kind of submissions we are taking is an Instagram reel about you and adulting. That should be within 30 seconds. We are taking videos under 2 minutes, and we are also taking content between 300 to 400 words. So write to us, shoot a video, submit a reel, share your story of adulting, and we look forward to featuring you on our page and sharing some Girl Power Talk goodies with you. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll meet soon for our episode 2.